All right, so I started building up the ESCs and connecting the motors to the PDB, but this thing is starting to take up way more space than I can actually support on my bench using the bench cam. So, I mean, I started recording it, but I couldn't get this thing in a position where I could show anything. So, best I can do is show you what it looks like afterwards. So, again, we're using iFlight Success or Sussex, however you want to call these, the X80 80 amp ESCs. These do support up to 8S. One strange thing is they got power and ground for your main, but they don't have a signal and ground wire, signal and ground pad, but they have the signal and the telemetry pad. So I went ahead and I wrapped my signal wire with my ground wire. Hopefully, if there is any noise, that helps cancel it out. They do come with a pretty fat capacitor for these things. It's a Rubicon 50 volt 450 microfarad capacitor. Each one comes with that. It does come with a large chunk of heat shrink. The heat sinks that come with it, or the heat sinks for these ESCs, that is a additional item you had to purchase. They come with double-sided tape on them. I don't know how well that's going to work out. I don't know if that's thermal tape that's on it or if it's just some crappy two-sided adhesive tape. I'm going to see how this works out. I may have to get some two-part thermal epoxy to put those on there. 3D printed holders, those are available on Thingiverse. Pretty decent little holder. I had to go and snip the back half off so I could get these things to fit in there. And they're just held in by that one zip tie. One thing to note is being super efficient in using leftover wire I had laying around, so I went back and I just put a little piece of red heat shrink on the power wire just so I can identify it later on, since I'm using two black wires. These will get zip tied to the frame here to kind of tidy everything up. The motor wires are cut to length. I did take and shove as much wire back inside of the arm, probably up to about here as I could, just so I have a little bit of slack. I did purchase some of these. These are MR60 connectors. It's basically a 3-pin sort of XT60 style connector that I was going to put on the motor wires. But for now, I'm just going to run it direct. I do have other plans for this frame later on, so I'm just kind of fleshing things out right now, just making sure it works, getting it flying. Then I'll go back and kind of clean everything up, put the LEDs on it. I do plan on cutting these arms down to make it sort of a beast class size frame. But anyway, so center section's built up. I've got one arm built up, one ESC built up. I'm going to do the other 3 here off camera just because I can't provide anything of any value while I'm recording this. This is much bigger than I thought it would be. And I thought if I'm building a bigger quad, it'd be easier. No, this thing is just as difficult to build up as building up a Chameleon with a slam deck on it. There's not a lot of space in there. Like once you slide the arms in, I realized that my VTX being mounted sideways was in the wrong spot because the ends of the arms ended up pushing into it. So I had to take the VTX, turn it sideways, and run it kind of this way along the frame and move the receiver up. I mean, there is a lot of space, but there isn't, kind of all at the same time. It's a lot of wasted space, hard to get to type space. But it's not unworkable. It's just very different than a normal quad. But yeah, as you can see, I am running out of space pretty darn quick. I'm probably gonna have to move this to like a folding picnic table type thing. Start working on it there.
All right, folks, it's all wired up, soldered up. I've done all the continuity checks I could think of. This is about as good as it's gonna get. I have my VTX antenna on. I still haven't figured out what to do with my receiver antenna here. I'm not too worried about that. I have one storage power 4S pack here. I'm not going to go straight to 8S. If it's going to smoke, it's going to smoke on anything, whether it's 8S or not 8S. So we have the anti-spark connector here on the positive side. So I'll go ahead and connect ground. I'm actually really nervous about this because this is a lot of money here. There's a lot of components. All right, here we go. No smoke, no smoke, no smoke. Woo! Got it. All right. Now to set this thing up.
All right, well, here it is, all wired up and ready to rock. I got a weight measurement on it with the props and everything installed, and if you believe it, this whole mess weighs 3.3 kilograms. It's a little over 7 pounds, a little under 7.5 pounds. It wasn't the easiest build. I forgot how much of a pain in the butt individual ESCs are. I've been using 401s for so long that you forget how much extra work they are. Everything turned out pretty good so far. Pretty happy with it. I still need to figure out a way to mount my T-style antenna here for the R9 system. Shouldn't be too difficult. I was just kind of seeing where my options were, just so I'm not blocked by the battery in the frame. A couple things that I really don't like about the frame is I wanted to run the batteries side by side like this underneath, but because of the way that these pieces are cut, when you go to strap it down, the batteries are literally like sitting right on the edges of these. It's the same underneath. I'm just not gonna flip it over to show you, but it was sitting right on the edges of those. And if you crank down it with a battery strap, it's gonna chew right into it. I didn't really like that, so I just stacked them on top of each other like this. Bunch of 3M dual lock on everything, and that seems to be just fine, like that. Oh, I forgot to put the VTX antenna on there. But yeah, that's the build. It's a time-consuming build. I figured since it was so big, it was going to be a lot easier to build. Quite the contrary, it's so big that it became difficult to build. It became pretty unruly. I had to actually move over to a bench in the middle of my basement here because my normal workbench is just far too small for working on something like this. But anyways, that's it. It's all together. Pretty happy with the way it looks, the way it came out. I don't have the LEDs or anything like that installed on it yet. I want to get it made and get it running right, get it tuned, and I will go from there at that point. But that's it. That's it for the build. Next, we're going to jump into Betaflight, get this thing all configured and made in this bad boy. If you guys like what I'm doing here, please like, subscribe. Check out the products in the description below. A lot of this was supplied by Banggood. I really appreciate all their help getting this project off the ground. My X-Class on a budget idea. The barrier for entry for X-Class has been far too expensive. If this even comes close to having the performance that I hope it has, this is going to be a pretty sweet little build. All right, like, subscribe if you really want to help me out. I have a Patreon account. Check that out if you really want to support me. Check out the product links. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.